right, guys, I wanted to jump in and do a brief news segment and talk about some of the upcoming changes that are coming here in World of Warships. Let's go do the news. All right, guys. Hey, as always, we do a brief, not always, as sometimes we do a brief news segment on this stream. Sometimes on Saturday nights, sometimes on Tuesday nights. This is what we're going to talk about today. Just a few articles that are on the dev blog. As always, I am just talking about content that is publicly available. You guys can always check out the dev blog yourself. But one of the fun things about life is someone reading to you. I'm not going to just read the dev blog, but we're going to talk a little bit briefly about what we see in here. First of all, on the 5th of this month, they announced some new ships. You've probably seen tweets about this. Maybe you've seen memes about these ships. They're coming. The British cruiser Gibraltar, or Gibraltar, is coming, and it is a tier 10 British cruiser. It is a monster. We're not sure. I don't think they've talked about the currency that this is going to be available for, if it's just a premium you can buy, if it's going to be a new coal ship or what. It is a heavy cruiser. Has a nice looking camouflage. I actually really like this green, gray, and black scheme. 234 millimeter main battery guns. They're going to be AP only, and it's 3 4-gun turrets. So we're talking about 12 barrels on this ship. As I said, AP shells only, improved ricochet angles, and a low fuse delay. Now, improved ricochet angles can be a lot of different things. If you watch my if you watch my recent IFHE video on YouTube, I've provided a link in there to the wiki page where it talks about ricochet angles and things like that. If I remember, or if somebody is interested, let me know, and I'll find that and drop it in chat here when we're done with the news section. So Gibraltar looks like it could be an interesting ship. 234s aren't the biggest guns. Let's remember that Henry has 240 millimeter guns at tier 10. And there, of course, are super cruisers with 305 millimeter guns. So I'm not quite sure what these 234s are going to behave like. I'm not sure what the reload is going to be, etc. And I don't think Wargaming is sure either. They're going to be tuning and tweaking those numbers as this ship gets closer and closer to release. Hydroacoustic search repair party smoke generator. So it's a smoke ship with 234s AP only. My guess is probably shorter range with, so I'm guessing like a 14-second main battery reload or something like that. 17 seconds, I'm not sure. But it's going to be something that's interesting to watch. I don't know, like I say, if it's going to be a coal ship, a research point ship, a US dollars or local currency ship, we'll find out. But Gibraltar is coming soon. We've also got American cruiser Tulsa as a tier 9 cruiser. Tulsa is based on the Oregon City class, and it runs 203 millimeter guns. There are going to be 6 of them. That's 3 double turrets, so three 2-barrel turrets. Scott says the 234s are the same as the Goliath, but with minnow style shells. Minnow style, he's talking about the improved AP angles and things like that, and the what do they call it? The low fuse delay, which reduces the number of overpens you're going to get. Tulsa's good looking. I'm not quite sure what makes it super special. You've got a lot of tier 8 boats and tier 9 boats that already have 203 millimeter guns and things like that. So the ship concept and characteristics are under development. We'll hear more about this in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Tulsa a ridiculous trick, a reload booster, smoke, Des Moines guns, something like that. Yeah. Scott is pointing out the Des Moines guns as well. I've seen some mention of that kind of stuff. They could very well be a reduced number of Des Moines guns. We bring it down to tier 9, similar to what we did with Congress being a reduced number of Alaska guns down at tier 8, which could be kind of interesting. Tulsa looks great. I like it when it's a real ship, and a lot of the premiums have the number painted on the side here. So I think that's kind of a neat thing. And Tulsa's definitely bringing that energy, if you want to think of it that way. So that's another ship that's coming up. We've got the French carrier Bearn, tier 6. Now, this is the first French aircraft carrier that they have talked about. We know the French have had aircraft carriers in their navy historically, and they continue to today. So this is kind of an interesting development, and one that we probably should have expected. Honestly, I would have thought we would have seen French carriers in the game before we saw Russian carriers, but wargaming. So in this case, we've got the Bearn here. This is the first aircraft carrier for the French Navy, like I said. It's converted from a Normandy-class battleship. So I'd be interested to park a Normandy next to it and see if we could like identify, the same lines and things like that alongside this boat. It says she has a mixed power system of turbines and steam engines, which is unique for ships of this class. Again, the concepts and characteristics of the ship are not yet defined, but they'll be coming along at a later date. So, couple of interesting things here. Again, tier 10 mega super cruiser Gibraltar. I would love it if this came out and was a coal boat and had interesting characteristics, making it a lot of fun to play. And plus, I think it's just a beautiful boat. Plus, I love 4-barrel turrets. I think those are stupid looking and great. It's amazing that we made any of those in real life, and here they are, of course, showing up in game. Tulsa, I don't know. I'd be interested to see what it's going to be. If it winds up with those Des Moines style guns, like we were talking about, like a 5-second reload, but just a reduced number of them to make it tier 9 appropriate, that would be really cool. It would make Tulsa way better than, the Buffalo, for example, which has those long reloads that are not at all characteristic of what you were expecting when we get to the tier 10 Des Moines. Tulsa could be something that's more in line with what we see at the Des Moines, but not quite as powerful to balance it for tier 9. And then Bearn, again, this is it's a French aircraft carrier. So French airplanes would be kind of interesting to get into the game. French aircraft carrier, interesting to get into the game if you're into CVs and stuff like that. These casemate secondaries are kind of interesting. A lot of them have little turrets up above, like the US carriers and stuff. So, you can definitely see the tier 6-ness that is in play here. So anyway, that is some new ships that are coming in World of Warships. Okay, so submarines, like I was saying, submarines are coming to the game this week. We're going to see them in Tier 6 ranked battles. Many of you may have logged into the system test, the test server, and watched the ST server, and watched or played in the submarine battles. I did a few battles the other week. Submarines are a little tricky. It's really weird when you get into a knife fight with another submarine. Aiming underwater, I found challenging. I liked everything about torpedoing surface ships. I thought that was really cool. You come up, you hit your acoustics on them, you radar or sonar ping them, and then you fire off your torpedoes, and that was kind of fun. I didn't feel like, at least the bots we were fighting in co-ops, and sometimes you'd have bots in randoms in there, I didn't feel like they were particularly overpowered or particularly underpowered, but until we really see them out in the main game, it's going to be difficult for me to say, I think subs are great, terrible, whatever. What we do know is that they're coming and they're here to stay. So here are some changes to the submarines that have happened as a result of the tests that we had on the ST server. So the only thing I really want to address here is this. Check this out. On the U69, torpedo speeds are going from 57 knots to 73 knots. This is not a minor adjustment. This is a big adjustment. Let's scroll down and take a look at the next one. Tier 8, 62 knots to 77 knots. Tier 9, 64 knots to 82 knots. Catch a lot, 66 to 82 knots. 68 to 86 knots, right? These speeds are going way high on these submarines. And let's remember, when you're doing the sonar pings, these torpedoes can turn. Okay, so we don't have steering torpedoes on the surface ships. These high-speed torps can actually turn, which is going to be interesting. I'm kind of curious about how the speed and the turning works together. If they didn't increase the rate of turn, not just like the angle that they can turn at, but the rate at which they can make that corner, they can actually change their direction. The speed might actually make them turn less, right? So they would go farther as they're making the same degrees amount of turn, if that makes sense. I'm doing a bad job explaining mathematics. But in the same way that your ship turns tighter when you go slower, that could be an effect of increasing the speed on the torpedoes as well. So I think it will actually make them turn less. This is all a hunch. We're deep in the speculation zone, as always. I think we're going to see less rotation, less turning out of the torpedoes because of the increased speed over the same amount of distance. So I think it might result in more accurate straight shots and less ability for the torpedoes to crank around. Anyway, a couple of things to think about there, right? A little bit of a damage buff, it looks like, on most of the torpedoes, and higher speeds is really the thing I wanted to talk about. So just be aware, we're going to start seeing submarines this week, and we're going to see them with faster torpedoes than we saw on the test server and doing a little bit more damage. this is going to be a part of World of Warships going forward. There's a couple of schools of thought there, like, you know, get with the times, and also here they come, right? I mean, it's just going to be a part of it. I'm really interested to see how this works out. I'm cautiously optimistic for submarines, but as I am a destroyer player quite a bit, I am very concerned about how it's going to affect my destroyers. Your guess is as good as mine.